يكن له كفوا أحد وبعد. Obviously, brothers and sisters, the topic of my khutbah was generic, but we all know the implications. We all know why this topic is being mentioned. And there is no doubt that the current climate of this country and the current president-elect is someone that we will have to face the consequences of for the next few years. But everything that I said in my khutbah still applies. Allah Azza wa Jal is testing us. Allah Azza wa Jal is seeing our reaction to what is going on. And we do not know. Maybe the future will be more difficult than the past. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We do not know. But whatever happens, brothers and sisters, whatever happens, we need to understand there is a divine wisdom, there is a divine purpose. SubhanAllah, for those of you that are above the age of 30, 35, you remember pre-9/11 America. You remember how America was, we call it in the good old days. In many ways it was the good old days, but let's be honest here. 9/11, yes, it was a very evil tragedy and whatnot, but it had an impact on our communities. It made us wake up and smell the coffee. It made us realize we have a struggle in this land, that we have a lot of work to do. Many of us rediscovered our faith. Many of us became active. Islam became a topic of conversation. This is a astaghfirullah to justify 9/11. Of course, 9/11 is un-Islamic and haram and a tragedy. But I'm saying the good that came out of it, we all realize this. The wisdoms we had to learn, the maturity that all of a sudden I would consider myself to be very naive pre-9/11 in my vision of America and the world and whatnot. Post 9/11, we didn't have the luxury to play around anymore. We understood there is a responsibility Allah has placed on us as members of this ummah, being in this land. And I believe many of us felt that, and we became more active, more involved, more connected with the ummah. So subhanAllah, and we all know that this increased the profile of Muslims and whatnot. SubhanAllah, we do not know what the future holds. Maybe this is another one of those moments that when we look back 10, 15 years from now, we will all be able to see the benefits that are going to come. Nonetheless, we have to deal with the reality, and the reality is somebody who has expressed very harsh and bigoted statements is now technically our commander-in-chief and leader. We hope and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He softens his tone, that He understands this was rhetoric, and now that he's in the office, he might change. We hope this. If that happens, good. If that doesn't happen, it's still good, brothers and sisters. It's still good. Because the person in the White House does not control your iman. He doesn't control your jannah and nar, and he doesn't control your happiness. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, adhaka wa abka. It is Allah amata wa ahya. It is Allah who gives rizq and takes it away. It is Allah tu'izzu man tasha wa tudulli man tasha. Not the people that are in DC or in the White House. So brothers and sisters, yes indeed, I understand some of us are gloomy and sad. I have to admit, yes, me too, I was sad and whatnot. This is the reality. Okay, but I see it as one more opportunity. Allah Azza wa Jal has decided to test us, and He knows we can withstand the test. He knows we are capable to respond to this, and insha'Allah ta'ala, every one of us will see the good of what is happening in our own lifetimes. We will understand the wisdom of why this is taking place. We will see that, and wallahi, forget Trump and whatnot. I ask each and every one of you, in your own lifetimes, the personal tragedies that you've had, right? Go back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And see for yourself the benefits that came out of that tragedy. You would not be sitting here today had it not been for those tragedies that took place in your own life. If you hadn't had to take a sharp turn here or get rid of this person or do this or something, you would not be here today. When that tragedy happened, you were like the fisherman. Why? But when it moves on, you're like, alhamdulillah, Allah put that trial in my life, and because of that trial, I had to turn left, turn right, do this, do that, and that made me who I am today. If we know this from our personal lives, why can't we trust it in our collective lives? If we see this in my and your life, why can't we understand this is the ummah? We are but members of the ummah, and the ummah too has its twists and its turnings. And so insha'Allah ta'ala, we will live through this. Wallahi, brothers and sisters, the ummah has lived through much worse than somebody like Trump. The biggest musibah that we ever faced, our Prophet ﷺ told it to us. He said it to us in the hadith in Ibn Majah. Anytime you are faced with a calamity, hadith is in Ibn Majah, it's authentic, listen to it. Anytime you are faced with a calamity, take consolation in the biggest calamity that ever took place, and you still overcame it, and that was my death. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The Ummah overcame the death of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Wallahi, that is the biggest calamity that the Ummah has ever faced. And yet the Ummah overcame. Not only did they overcome, they rise, they flourished, they became the greatest civilization. We had the likes of this and the likes of that, and we ruled the world, everything, yes. And so many other calamities have taken place. The Mongols invaded, the Crusaders came. So many issues, much bigger than this person in the White House. And where is the Ummah now? Alhamdulillah, it's doing fine over. By and large, the people are doing fine. By and large, Iman is strong. By and large, Tadayyun, Iltizam. By and large, Salah, Zakah, belief in Allah and His Messenger. It's strong in the Ummah. And that's the real measure of success. Not the GDP, not this, not that. The real measure of success is raw Iman. And Alhamdulillah, the Ummah has plenty of Iman. Alhamdulillah, that is the reality. And so, like we overcame those previous tragedies, those previous calamities, we will, insha'Allah ta'ala, overcome. This is the promise of Allah. It is the guarantee of Allah. Brothers and sisters, a few practical points of advice. We know there's a lot of hate crimes taking place. And it is really obligatory on all of us to be a little bit more vigilant in this regard, especially our sisters in hijab, especially them. Make sure if anything happens, if somebody says something, make sure if there's any type of fear that you feel, obviously after the spiritual element of protecting, asking Allah's protection and isti'adah, after the spiritual stuff, the advice is, brothers and sisters, do not attempt to confront any bigot or racist. Your personal safety is more important. Your personal safety is more important than responding, especially our sisters. Try to go to a public place. Also try to monitor your whereabouts and where you're going, and be careful. Try not to be alone. Unfortunately, a number of things happen. At least a few dozen things have happened in the last 48 hours. And it's not just against Muslims, by the way. Against Latinos, against African Americans, against other minorities, right? Point number 2, communities and masajid. We need to start developing ties with these other minorities. That's one of the benefits that came post 9/11. Now we have to make it even more. We need the help of everybody we can get after the help of Allah. We need to form alliances. And subhanAllah, the minorities of America put together are a majority. But unfortunately, these minorities are separate from one another. We need to form alliances with all of these minorities and show them that, look, we are here just like you. We might have disagreements and whatnot, but we agree that we want a better world. We agree that, we might disagree about theology, but we agree we want safe neighborhoods for our kids. We agree we want better education. We agree that we want drug-free zones, etc., etc. These are things we all agree upon. And Islamically, wallahi, we are still very much behind in this regard. We need to move forward and form alliances with these all of these other groups. Point number 3, brothers and sisters, that when a hate crime or an incident happens, then make sure that you take appropriate legal mechanisms. Report it to the police. Call up CARE or your local political Muslim activist organization, whatever it is. Why? Because we need to leave a paper trail. We need to have solid evidence. We need to compile statistics. We need to show what is going on. Don't just ignore and say, khalas, no big deal. Even if, inshallah, may Allah protect all of us, that you're safe and sound. If something happens to you that is a hate crime, it needs to be reported simply for statistics. Simply to show the people that, look, this is happening. So do not be embarrassed or ashamed to call up for help, to get some support and whatnot. Point number 3, if the circumstance, point number 4, if the circumstance allows for it, then one of the ways of safety is to pull out your cell phone and start videotaping. Alhamdulillah, these days, the cell phone, we have video footage. Also, there are apps out there, and I don't want to tell you specific names, you can find them yourself. There are apps out there that are essentially alert apps or safety apps. If you press one button on that app, immediately it does 2-3 things. It'll call 911, give it your location, it will start videotaping. Some apps might give loud sounds or whatnot, especially sisters. Look up these apps, see which ones are beneficial for you, and then download them, even if it costs some money. Look, Allah told us, and the Prophet told us, tie your camel, then trust in Allah. This is tying our camel. We need to tie our camel, be a little bit more vigilant in this regard. Also, brothers and sisters, do not be pessimistic. Do not be so despondent. Alhamdulillah, there's a lot of good in us and in many people in this country. Alhamdulillah, look around you. Look at how angry, never in the history of this country have we had protests the night of the election against the president-elect. Never. Never in 250 plus years, never. A lot of people are angry. You're not alone.